In this tutorial, we are diving into Ngrok, a tool that can make our development work so much easier. If you ever needed to share your local development server with the outside world or test Webhooks without deploying your application, then you're going to love Ngrok. In this video, I'll show you how to set up Ngrok, use it to create secure channels, explore some real-world use cases. So let's get started. So what is Ngrok? Ngrok is sort of a reverse proxy that creates a secure tunnel from a public endpoint to run a locally running web service. In simple terms, it allows you to expose your local development environment to the internet. This is useful for testing webhooks, showcasing local websites to clients, or even accessing your computer services remotely. So looking at how it works, what it does is it assigns a public URL to your localhost, which then forwards requests to your local server. This URL is randomly generated, but can also be customized. So let's look at some of the use cases where Ngrok shines. So first use case is where you want to test webhooks. So imagine you're building a web application that integrates with GitHub or Stripe. You need to receive webhooks for certain events like a new push or a successful payment. So with Ngrok, you can test these webhooks locally. What you need to do is simply point the webhook URL to the Ngrok generated URL, and you're done. So when we look at collaboration, it means if you're working in a team where you are not in the same location, it means you can share work in progress with the clients or even collaborators that you are working with. This is good when you are building APIs, mobile apps, or even developing web applications. When we talk of also debugging, where a developer often needs to test their mobile applications against a locally running backend server, Ngrok makes this seamless. Just create a tunnel to your local server and use the public URL in your mobile app. You can also use Ngrok to do remote access. Internal tools or services can be accessed remotely by exposing an IP and port through Ngrok. So for example, you build a dashboard and you want somebody else to access from a different computer, then Ngrok can easily make you achieve that. So I'll take you through the steps to install, and the first thing we do is to visit Ngrok website. So I'll go to ngrok.com. So two things you need to do here. You need to set up an account. This will allow you to get an access token for you to use Ngrok. But before you do that, you can also just install it in your machine. So I'll just take you through the installation steps for a MacBook. So first thing you do is you can come to the docs menu. Once you get here, go to the getting started section. So you can choose different download options. So for me here, I'm using a Mac, so I'll just download so you can use the brew command to install. You need to copy this command and run it in your terminal, or optionally you can install an Ngrok agent. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'll go here, and then since I'm installing it on Mac OS, I'll download the zip file here. So I'll choose my version and then click on download. So once you've downloaded it, you'll find it in your downloads folder. So you can see mine is here. So then I'll go back to the terminal, and we have to run this command. So I'll just copy this, and I'll go to my terminal. I will go to my downloads folder and run this command here. So I'll just paste it here. So you have to put your password, definitely. Okay, so it seems I don't have any permissions. Let me just check on it again. So I'll go ahead and try to run the command after fixing the permission issue. So I'll copy this command again and go back to my terminal. So here I'll navigate back to my downloads folder. Should be able to see my download file, and I'll try to run this command again. Yeah, so I'll paste this here, try to run it, enter my password here. Okay, we need to modify the command, so I'll just edit it here. Because it can't find the file. So remember to change this in case you face the same issue. So I'll just run this here. Let me modify it again. Okay, still can't find the file, so I'll just list it here. I'll copy the name of the file here, because we need to modify the command. Modify this here so that we have the exact file name. Yeah, that should work. Let's run it. Good, so we have it there. So if I type on my command just to test it out, just type ngrok help. Yes, you can see it gives you the available commands for your ngrok. So if you do the right steps, you should be able to get this page displayed here. So we'll do a quick demo of how it works. So first I'll run my local application. So I have a Spring Boot application that's running here. So I'm just going to start it. Let's give it a few seconds to start. Yeah, so we have it here. My application is running on port 8080, and to test this out, I have my Insomnia client. So if I open this collection here, let me test this. So if I send, yeah, so I'm getting a response here. So we want to create a request that we can access through Ngrok. So I'll just duplicate this and do Ngrok API request. This is just for testing purposes. So I'll just create this in my request. So remember, my API is running on port 8080. So yours could be running on a different port, so take note of that. So looking at this, mine is running on port 8080. So if we go to our terminal, I just need to expose my port. So I'll start with Ngrok and say HTTP, and I specify the port. So let me see. So you get this authentication error. So we missed out on one step. So we go back to the ngrok.com website. So you need to get an access token for you to be able to use Ngrok now on your local machine once you install it. So first login. Okay, so since I already have an account created for myself, give it a moment to load. Yes, so once you log in, you normally get a dashboard like this. So what you can do is navigate to your auth token, and you'll find a dashboard here. So you're given this window here where you can get your authentication token. So this is where it is. You can just copy it, and in your command line you need to run this command. So first I'll copy the command, and on our terminal we need to specify the auth token. So I'll put in the command here. Okay, and then I'll copy my authentication token, and then I'll enter this. So you'll get an alert that the authentication token has been added to your file. Okay, so once you have done that, so we can repeat the last command that we did, which was running it on HTTP. Good. So you'll get two endpoints. So you'll get these details, and the URL that you now need is this. So you can copy this URL and come to your local Insomnia client. So remember we had created this. So I'll paste this here. Okay, so you notice we now have a URL that is reachable on the internet, and you can call this from here, and you should be able to get a response. So on this dashboard, going back to the Insomnia dashboard, you can be able to see a traffic inspector. So you can come here and you can see that we have this here, and you can see all the requests that you are making to your application. In some cases you can see the response, you can see the requests, you can actually see even the source IP addresses and all that. So so you can also have different restrictions. So for instance, you can restrict that I want to allow traffic only from this IP, or you can also load your custom TLS certificates. So next we'll go through some of the security considerations. So that shows you how to set up Ngrok. I've taken you through a walkthrough on how to do it. So then we'll go through some of the security considerations that you could do with Ngrok. So one of them is support for basic authentication. So you can decide to add basic authentication for your endpoints, so that especially if your backend API does not support any authentication, you can add basic authentication, so that you restrict those ones who are calling to make sure that they give you a username and password. And for you to do that, for instance, you can have we can go back to our terminal here. So to stop this, I'll just press Ctrl C, and you can type in Ngrok HTTP, and then put a tag here -auth, and you specify your username and your password, and then you put space, and then your port. So our port was 8080. So your application will start and expect someone to pass a username and password. Let me see, I think I missed out something here. Okay, so looking at the documentation, these parameters been updated. So it means on our terminal we will use so we'll just do, so let me clear this, and then I'll put the port here 8080, and then -basic auth. You specify the username and password, and then you enter the command in that format. It seems I missed out something here. should be like this. Yes, so you'll notice that if we pick this URL, so this URL will change every time. So if I copy this and go to my client, if I try to run it, let me replace this URL here. If I run it, you notice that I'll get unauthorized. So until you specify a username and password, so you can come here and say you're using basic auth, and I used username and password. So if I send this, you should be able to authenticate that. So Ngrok can help you have security in place. Okay, so another security measure you can have is ensuring that you are using HTTPS. So that one is supported out of the box, and you will notice the endpoint we are using, or the endpoint that is generated here, is HTTPS by default. So you're encouraged to use HTTPS. Looking at some of the advanced features as well, on a paid plan you can use custom subdomains. It means this can come in handy if you want a predictable URL. For instance, you want to have your app.ngrok.io, so you just run this command to have your subdomain, but this one you have to be on a paid plan. For some cases, especially for pro users, you can reserve a custom domain, and this is particularly useful for businesses that want to brand their URLs. We also have TCP tunneling. This is used to expose services like SSH, or let's say you have a database running locally and you want to expose it over the internet as well. You can use a TCP tunnel, and you just need to do ngrok TCP and specify your port. That should allow you access the service from the internet. That brings us to the end of the tutorial, and there you have it. Ngrok is a powerful tool that can greatly enhance your development workflow. Whether you are testing webhooks, showcasing projects to clients, or even accessing internal tools remotely, Ngrok will get you covered. I hope this guide has given you a good overview of how to use Ngrok and some ideas on how to incorporate it into your projects. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more tech tutorials. If you have any questions or topic you'd like to see covered in the future, drop a comment below. And thank you for watching.